This morning, never-before-seen images from the infamous Epstein Island have been released. And an Ohio senator has introduced a bill in an effort to end dual citizenship. We'll tell you what that means.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good Thursday morning to you. I'm Caroline Mueller. Today's date is December 4th, and we are inching up on that 5 o'clock hour. So let's go ahead and check in with meteorologist Megan Dusmel for a look at your forecast this morning. Megan, I feel like my brain is not accepting that it is officially cold out because I'll be rushing out the door. It's time to go. But then I have to wait for my windshield to defrost. I'm not factoring in that time yet.
It's the worst. And then you also have to scrape your windshield. It's not fun. And it's one of those days this morning. Not only is it cold, but you might have a little bit of that frost on your windshield this morning. So add in that extra time. There's your forewarning for you. Let's take a look at those temperatures as you are heading out the door. Upper 20s for most folks in Eastern Kentucky. That is below freezing this morning, as is the trend for most of the days this week. And as we head into the afternoon, those high temperatures will be in a mixture of the mid to upper 30s and low 40s. One thing I want to point out, Moorhead's high temperature for today is 34 degrees. That is the average low temperature that we typically see this time of year. So it is very cold and very abnormally cold at that. Here's a look at satellite and radar this morning, looking at a little bit of some flurry activity in Wayne County this morning. And as we zoom out, you'll notice a little bit more flurries are to our north. We could see some impacts of that over the next couple of hours. Caroline.
Sounds good, Megan. Thank you. House Democrats released what they say are never-before-seen images from the infamous Epstein Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. They show one of two private islands owned by convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. One picture shows a dentist chair, which a source tells CBS News was built for one of Epstein's girlfriends, a European studying to be a dentist. The photos also show a blackboard with the words "power and deception" written on it, with other words redacted, and a phone with several first names on speed dial. Amid bipartisan pressure, the president signed a new law to release the Justice Department's full Epstein case files. The deadline for doing that is about 2 weeks. Immigration crackdowns are ramping up in Minnesota, targeting people officials say with deportation orders, many of them Somalia descent. This comes up amid President Trump's verbal attack on the Somali community after several dozen were implicated in a Minnesota fraud case. CBS's Jared Hill has more.
Today, Minnesota at the center of new national attention after President Trump's last shout at the state's Somali community.
The Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
It comes amid reports of a fraud scandal involving dozens of people of Somali descent. In the past 3 years, 87 people have been charged, 61 convicted, after $1 billion was siphoned from multiple federal programs during the COVID pandemic. According to investigators, the scheme involved bogus receipts and invoices for meal programs, housing assistance, and behavioral health services, charging the state millions for services that were never provided. Tuesday, President Trump repeatedly insulted Somali people.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you.
Somalis are hardworking.
Jamal Osman is a Minneapolis city councilman who came to the U.S. from Somalia when he was 14, now a naturalized citizen. He says the president is painting the hundreds of thousands of Somalis in the U.S. with a broad brush. The U.S. first extended temporary protected status in 1991 as Somalia plunged into a civil war and hundreds of thousands fled. Now the community is bracing for immigration crackdowns on those who've been issued final deportation orders.
What we're scared of is ICE going out on the streets, hunting anyone that looks like me.
HHS Secretary Kristi Noem says half the visas in Minnesota are fraudulent, though she has not provided evidence. Jared Hill, CBS News.
The House Oversight Committee said it would launch its own investigation into the Minnesota fraud case, including claims that some of the stolen money ended up in the hands of terror groups overseas. Today on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are set to be briefed on the September 2nd military strikes on the alleged drug boat that has Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the center of controversy. Some lawmakers questioning whether the strike could be considered a war crime. After the Washington Post reported last week that Hegseth ordered commanders to kill everybody, a claim he denies.
If it was just two individuals in the water that were struggling for their lives, what was the validation of second strike?
Hegseth is also under renewed scrutiny for his use of the messaging app Signal. Sources tell CBS News a new report from the Pentagon's Inspector General found Hegseth put service members at risk and violated Defense Department policy by using his personal phone to send information marked secret regarding an active bombing mission in Yemen back in March. The U.S. negotiating team got a tour of Moscow Tuesday and a 5-hour meeting with Vladimir Putin that went late into the night. But they did not get the peace deal they want. Putin launched a verbal attack on Europe, accusing its leaders of blocking the U.S. from brokering a deal. There's no indication that Europe wants to fight with Russia, but dividing the U.S. from its European allies may serve Russia's interests. There's a new push on Capitol Hill to end dual citizenship. Ohio Senator Bernie Monero has introduced a bill banning U.S. citizens from holding citizenship from other countries. If passed, the Exclusive Citizenship Act would require all current dual citizens to choose within 1 year which citizenship they want to hold. And those who fail to pick would voluntarily relinquish U.S. citizenship. The bill is waiting to be picked up by a Senate committee. A new report shows U.S. traffic safety is moving in the wrong direction. Members of Congress met with police in Washington yesterday, looking for answers. WYMT Washington correspondent Brendan Cullerton breaks down what industry leaders are looking for.
Advocates for highway safety say the danger on U.S. roadways has become a crisis. They say it's up to Congress and state governments to pass laws making travel safer. In 2004, a drunk driver took the life of Vicki Brown's son, Darius.
Hit my family, splitting our car in half, causing our car to do a couple of 360s, rolling over before ending in an upright position, and killing Darius.
Brown was one of a number of people asking Congress and state lawmakers across the country to pass new driving safety laws.
These laws, such as requiring all convicted drunk drivers to install an ignition interlock in their cars, make it illegal to have an open container in a vehicle.
The calls for improvement come after an Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety report found there were nearly 41,000 U.S. road deaths in 2023. Crashes caused nearly 2.5 million injuries and $440 billion in damage costs. Republican Tracy Mann says those numbers need to improve.
Families often drive long distances for school, work, medical care, and everything in between. Road safety is not just an abstract policy discussion. For me, it is personal.
The report listed issues like distracted driving with phones, running red lights, seatbelts, and motorcycle helmets as areas of concern. Congressman Chris Pappas says it's not just on lawmakers to fix the problems.
So while we fight to pass legislation that will reduce traffic deaths, this month is also a time to remind people to make a plan for a safe, sober ride home.
Advocates are calling on Congress to pass a suggested set of standards for states to follow across the country. In Washington, I'm Brendan Cullerton.
Some Kentucky Republican leaders met in Bardstown to come up with their game plan for the next legislative session. Senate President Robert Stivers says artificial intelligence and energy could be the biggest issues globally right now, and Kentucky needs to be ready.
It will be the tool for the next 10, 15, 20 years in education, economics, and global security.
The 60-day session begins January 6th and will be highlighted by drawing up a new $15 billion budget. Senate Democrats were not at the retreat. We were told they're having an event later this week. People with diabetes, especially young adults, face a higher risk of sudden cardiac death. A study in Denmark found while the condition is rare, sudden cardiac death is 3.7 times more likely among people with type 1 diabetes and 6.5 times more common for people with type 2 diabetes. The research also found people with diabetes have a shorter life expectancy on average. A warning from health experts about the medical advice given by social media influencers. A British medical journal report found 40% of young adults in the U.S. purchase products based on influencer recommendations. But influencers' health advice often lacks medical expertise and doesn't disclose paid sponsorship and can cause real harm. Researchers say more regulation and accountability is needed. Thanks for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News This Morning. Still to come, meet a young man using his wish through the Make-A-Wish Foundation to bring joy to others in the good side.
And get ready for yet again another chilly start to your day.